The information shared on the Allo podcast is not intended as medical advice. Your medical care decisions should be made in consultation with your physician who is familiar with your specific case.
Welcome to the Allo podcast from the Allo Hope Foundation. I'm Bethany Weathersby.
And I'm Molly Sherwood.
And I'm Kate Luvano.
And I'm Dewayne Luvano.
Yes, and we have some really special guests with us today. We have 4 people here. This is very rare.
I know. What a fun
we're
intro
very excited.
That was. Yes.
I know. And to hear the male voice booming through is unique, right? Mm-hmm. But we are so excited to share our special guests with all of our listeners. Kate and Dewayne, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yep, appreciate the opportunity to get to talk through our story.
We have known you guys for almost 2 years, and Kate has become such an important and invested member of our Allo Hope community. And it's also super fun to have a husband on the podcast too, because we don't hear their perspective often enough.
I am so excited to have my friend and fellow Allo mom on the podcast today, Kate. Kate and I have a really special friendship. I think we connected, at least from my perspective, very easily right away when you first reached out. And since then, we've become close friends. And I just feel like you're such a great partner in the advocacy work too. And also, you are an inspiration to me and many others. And you have been such an encouragement to me in so many ways. I don't really have time to talk about all of them, but I'm so glad you're here and we can chat.
I am so glad to be here. And you just said so many nice things.
I could say more.
I definitely agree that, I think we connected right away. And you've been such an instrumental piece in my journey and grief and process everything. You've been instrumental in my life the past couple of years, which has meant a lot to me. Yeah,
this is so special. And another thing that I'll just touch on, but we can talk more about later, is how in many situations I somehow have inserted myself into your personal family moments, especially with your last pregnancy. And Kate and I joke because I like to call her child our baby. Because, he's my baby. I'm just kidding.
Because he is.
No, I know, we laughed when we opened the package or Dewayne actually was one who opened the package with the headphones when you sent us the headphones for this recording. And he was like, the note says for our baby.
Yeah. And despite living in different states, somehow I was just at your first ultrasound, or no, second, I guess. Yeah. I was just there when you came out, and I was like, hello, Dewayne. You don't know me, but I'm at your ultrasound. So something else that I think has been easy to connect with Kate on is the way that we seem to process grief and then also talk about our experiences with high-risk pregnancy and stillbirth and loss. And I really love, just personally, I love how Kate talks about all of this. And it feels so real and just easy to talk about. And so I do want to point that out. And it's something that I love about you, Kate. And I feel like we always have the realest conversations. So now everyone gets to hear the real conversation. And even though it can be kind of a heavy topic at times, or something that others think that we might be reluctant to talk about, when actually we do like to talk about our babies, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's part of what we have connected so well on, is we process grief in very similar ways. And I think sometimes as a listener listening to a podcast, it can feel heavy knowing a story is going to include loss, and that can maybe feel intimidating. And it does for me, not quite knowing what I'm going to get into listening to somebody talk about loss and grief. But from where I sit, it really is such a privilege and a joy for me to get to talk about my children, all of my children, because just like somebody's really proud to talk about their living children, I really have a lot of joy and pride talking about all of my children. And so it is a privilege to be able to do that on this type of platform and setting. And I will say, I want to add this too, that, we never have any guarantees with pregnancy at all, period. But when it comes to HDFN, the right care really does make all of the difference. And that is the case in my story. And so if you are anticipating hearing about loss, just know going in that with the right care, that does not have to be a part of the story. And having the right care does make all the difference.
That's so well put. And one of the big messages that we try to convey at the foundation too. And so we also see it in your work and what you do to support women every day on our support group. So I'm sure many, many listeners are actually going to recognize your name and your story, even possibly when they hear about this episode, and they'll be eager to hear. So let's do this. Let's start. How about, I want to hear a little bit about Kate and Dewayne, who you were before pursuing parenthood.
We live in Georgia, and we met when we were 17 and have been dating. Well, now we're married. We've been married for a few years, but we've been together since we were 17, and we work together. We both work in the field of addiction counseling for adolescents, and we love what we do. It's such a privilege to get to do the work we do.
Our lives before becoming parents, I feel like it was pretty good overall. We just worked, did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. It was...
Had a lot more money.
Yeah. I remember those days so long ago.
It was like a joy to cook together, and now it's like, oh geez, like we don't have dinner plans,
So Kate, do you want to go ahead and just walk us through your first pregnancy and what that experience was like?
Actually, I remember wanting to get pregnant right away as soon as we got married. And I don't know, for various reasons, you kind of hear, you should wait and you should, give it some time. And we were young, and that was a valid point. So we kind of had, let's wait a year and kind of just be married before jumping into getting pregnant and having babies. And so we waited a year and then decided to start trying to get pregnant. And I got pregnant immediately, which was such a blessing. Wow, yeah. And so I myself am adopted. And so when we were thinking about starting our family and growing our family, that's something that just naturally I thought about is, are we going to be able to get pregnant? Are we going to be able to have a healthy baby? That's something that I thought about because that was a very real part of my story. Yeah. Because I'm adopted, my genetic, predisposition in my head was, oh, well, clearly my genes have no issues getting pregnant. Right. And so I just kind of thought it would be easy. And then it was. I did get pregnant right away. And so I knew there was possibility of challenges coming up. I wasn't completely ignorant to that, but I did just kind of think, but it won't happen to us.
Yeah.
And especially as we got further along in pregnancy, I knew all the statistics of, okay, we reached 6 weeks. Yeah. The rates of miscarriage dropped down. Okay, we got 7 weeks. The rates of miscarriage dropped down. Okay, 8 weeks. And once we hit that point where that percentage dropped down to less than 1% chance of a miscarriage happening at this point, in my head, I just thought, cool, we are in the clear. We had a routine appointment for, about 13 weeks. At the very end of the appointment, it was, okay, now let's, check baby and make sure everything's going okay. And they pull out the fetal scope and they're doing, she's listening to my belly and she's listening. She can't find anything. She has a Doppler. She's listening. She can't find anything. And she says, okay, don't worry. You're still very early, because at this point it was, 13 and some change weeks. And she said, this is really common, that the baby's just so small. We can't pick him up. We'll just go to the other room and we will do an ultrasound and we can see the baby from there. And I had a sinking feeling, but I also just was kind of hopeful. Like, well, but that, she's just too small. And so we'll just see her on the ultrasound. And it's really normal. She's saying it's really normal. And so we go to the next room and they do the ultrasound. And immediately, I could see like something was wrong. I don't, at this point, I didn't really know how to read an ultrasound or see what I was looking at. But I knew that's not what it looked like before. And that doesn't look like a healthy baby. And the tech who was doing the ultrasound just kind of got quiet, and she was whispering to the midwife who was in the room, and they're kind of whispering back and forth. And
sad.
And then the midwife stepped forward and she said, "There's no heartbeat." And I felt like I was in a movie.
Yeah,
like that was the moment where it's like, you see this happen to other people.
Yeah.
And you just don't think it's going to be you. And it felt like I was watching it happen to somebody else. And they stepped out of the room, and we broke down.
And Dewayne, you were there?
Yeah. I'd come from work on my lunch break. Thought I was going to, it was up the road from my work. So I was like, I'll just go for 30, 40 minutes and then shoot back to work. And
he actually almost left.
Oh, God.
Because it was taking so long. He almost went home.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'll just wait a second longer. Yeah. And thank God he did.
Oh, my gosh.
That would have been really, really hard to do that alone.
Yeah. There's nothing that can prepare you for that moment, to hear that and realize your baby's heart is not beating. It's just, it's so shocking.
Yeah. And realizing, I am still pregnant and there is still a baby in my belly, but she's dead.
Yeah.
And I still don't think I can grasp that concept.
No, I know. How? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dewayne, what were you feeling then? What was going through your mind?
I think I don't know. I think there not being a heartbeat on that day was kind of not what I expected. But then at the same time too, there was also that part of me that I think just wanted to turn to logic and was kind of like, well, I kind of knew the numbers kind of walking in. And it was kind of tough for me to really I don't know, a lot of it is more in hindsight. I've been able to wrap my mind around I guess I did in that moment, the easiest way I can just explain it to people is I didn't really feel like a dad yet, compared to the way that Kate felt like a mom from the minute that pregnancy test tested positive, I guess it didn't feel as real to me. And so a lot of kind of my perspective was kind of just more on, I think kind of what a lot of men do is just okay, how can I kind of then just be here for my wife, and that was kind of and I think part of that was honestly too, just because it was probably because it just was easier to focus. That was something that I could do. Whereas the alternative was kind of just throw your hands up in the air and, and kind of just what do you really even do in a situation where there isn't anything to do, So that was kind of, I think just the route that I think, just the way that I'm wired, that I went, so.
It makes a lot of sense. It is really cool to add. Yeah, it's really cool to add that perspective in about processing this. And you actually touched on something that reminded me, I know we have in common that I lost my first pregnancy as well. And I remember a friend saying to me while I was in my grief, you're a mom now. You're a mom already. And that was really, really comforting to me. But I was curious, and you kind of answered it a little bit, Dewayne, about how from a father's perspective, you didn't necessarily feel that way. But Kate, it sounds like from your perspective, you felt like a mother from the moment that Emerson was with you.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the phrases I hate the most is mom to be. When somebody's expecting, and especially Mother's Day just passed not too long ago, and you see it all the time, mom to be, and that drives me crazy because you are a mom. The second you have a positive pregnancy test, you're a mom. And no matter how long your baby is there for. That's your baby. And so, yeah, that definitely, I even though I didn't, this is a theme, I think, in my experiences, that even though I don't have a baby, I'm a mom, and that kind of doesn't match up, and that's hard to reconcile. And it's hard to convey to the outside world that even though you don't see children with me, I am a mom, and that's really hard. So yeah, it's difficult. I think loss at any phase is difficult, and it's not helpful to compare. But my experience of losing your first pregnancy and not having a living child was very isolating and, kind of confusing, because reconciling that piece of like, I am a mom and I don't have living children. It's just a weird reality to live in.
I also really am reading through, I can see some of your notes for our conversation today, and you have something in here talking about knowing at that time that you would never be the same. And I think that's really profound. And I think probably all of us at different times in our life can think about a moment where you just know, I'm never going to forget the imprint that this is going to have on me. I thought that was really powerful that you touched on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So when they had come back into the ultrasound room, they had to then continue the ultrasound and get measurements. I don't totally know what they were doing. I just know they were continuing the ultrasound, which felt really rude of them to do to me. And then they were asking us all these questions of, what do you want to do? You want to induce? You want to do a D&C? Do you want to just wait and have things pass naturally? And it's just so many questions that I didn't know. And I was like, I just want to go home and see what happens. Like, let's just give it a couple days. Like, let's just go home. Tell me the things I need to look out for and be aware of. Yeah. And so we went home and we got there. And that was the moment, Molly, that you're saying, that I was sitting there in the car and I couldn't get out of the car for like an hour or two. I was just sitting in the car. I couldn't get out. I couldn't go inside. I was just frozen and numb. And that's when I knew, like, I'm at the beginning of a very long road ahead of me. And I know I will never be the same again. And a piece of me just died with my baby. And that's gone forever. And I mean, that's true. I haven't been the same since that day.
It's like a part of your innocence is gone, or whoever you were with that innocence is gone forever. And then just living without your baby, it's so counter what we're like made for. And, that's so hard to process. So what happened next after you were home? Yeah.
So we went home and let's see. So that happened on a Thursday, and they gave me a couple things to be aware of, because they also told me that it looked like it had been a little bit since the baby had died. Like the baby was measuring smaller. And, so I felt a little bit betrayed by my own body of like, how can my own body not even know that she was dead? And I had just been on this vacation, and it was an amazing, like, I just felt so happy and at peace and had such a great time. And in my head, I was like, and she was dead the whole time and I didn't even know it. And so I just felt very betrayed by my own body. And then having to be still pregnant, and know that my baby's dead, and just kind of wait to see what happens, and to see, will my body even know what to do at this point, because it hasn't yet. And so they gave me a couple things to look out for regarding like sepsis or infection. That was kind of the main concern, that if you don't pass a baby naturally, that your body might develop an infection. And so by Saturday, I just, mostly out of precaution, and I think I felt pretty normal, besides the fact that I had laid, numb on the couch for 2 days staring into nothingness. Otherwise, physically, I felt mostly okay, but I just wasn't quite sure. I just really want to be sure. Like, I do not want an infection. Like, let me just go. We went back to the hospital. We went to the ER just to kind of check things out. And they said everything, I mean, given the circumstances, everything was okay. They weren't concerned of infection at that point. They did some blood work. But the doctor there did say, I think you should do a DNC at this point. So we scheduled one for Monday. So we waited through the next couple days till Monday. And which that was just a very, very long, 4 days? A very long 4 days of this in between. And I remember going to bed Sunday night knowing this is my last night with my baby. Like, I know she's dead. I know, like, there's not a full, alive baby in there, but this is my last night together. And we went to the hospital Monday morning, and this is my first time meeting the surgeon, the OB, who's going to be doing the procedure. And she comes in so excited to meet me and says, oh, this is no big deal. I've done so many of these procedures. And just kind of, I think she was trying to reassure me of her competency. And it just came off very insensitive. Like, you are bragging about how many dead babies you have pulled out of women. Like, that just doesn't make me feel better, actually, at all. Like, I guess I'm glad that you're experienced, but this is a big deal, actually, to me. Like, this is the biggest deal, actually, in my entire life. And this is no big deal to you in just another Tuesday. Like, okay. And then they wheeled me back into the operating room. And I had never had surgery before this. I think maybe I had some dental work done, like when I was a preteen or something, like very minor stuff. But never a surgery. And so I didn't totally know what to expect, but they wheel me back. And it's like, just like the movies where it's like this operating room and it's really cold and there's the table and they're like, lay on the table. And it's so cold and like just really hard and uncomfortable. Yeah. And I remember just crying and taking a moment and saying goodbye to her, knowing like this is the last moment we're going to have together. And then I was asleep and they put me under. And when I woke up, I was in severe pain. I was in the post-op. I was in severe pain. My body was like locked in like rigors. Like, I was just shaking, like kind terrible. Of like how you would see somebody having a seizure. Yeah. That's what was happening. And I was fully aware of everything going on around me. But I could not talk, and I could not control any movement. And I remember the post-op nurse saying, what's wrong? What's wrong? Can you talk to me? What's going on? And I couldn't talk. I knew exactly what she was saying. I wanted to respond and I couldn't. She's putting blankets on me and I'm like really, really hot. I'm like, oh my gosh, get these blankets off of me. And I couldn't communicate that. And I remember time going by. I remember her saying she has a temperature of 104 or something. Whoa. It might not have been 104, but something very high. And I remember her saying, okay, it's been an hour that she's been like this. Other doctors coming in, trying to do things to help. And then eventually, I don't know what happened, but eventually I just was able to talk and able to say like, yeah, I'm really hot. Take these blankets off of me.
Oh my gosh.
I was able to know what you're saying that whole time. Like, I just couldn't talk. I don't know what's happening. And then once I was stable, I guess, they moved me to post-op, or to like the round 2 post-op, or whatever the next step down is. Because it had been a long time, like at that point, that we were in that first recovery area. And when we got to the second recovery area, they just kind of said, all right, you're good to go. Let's send you home. And I was like, I'm in a lot of pain. And they're like, yeah, just take some, over-the-counter pain relievers. And
oh my gosh,
no,
it's kind of normal and you'll be okay. And they sent us home.
What were they saying about the fever? That's not
They gave me some medicine that brought it down. So by the time I was discharged, it was normal.
Wow.
Whoa.
It went back up when we got home, but it was normal at discharge.
And was Dewayne, where were you? Were you in there?
I was like in the surgery waiting room where you watch the screen and the color code changes and I don't remember them. I think they just kind of, what I do remember is like them kind of just giving me the generic discharge information. Like, because I was driving her home, and so they gave me like the piece of paper and said, hey, look out for these things, and if she has a fever, take some, ibuprofen or Tylenol or whatever, and if there's if she has a fever, bring her back, that was kind of it, you know, like,
Yeah.
they didn't like really, I didn't know about any of that until till I pulled up the car, and then like, I mean, obviously she told me about kind of how it all went, or at least from what she remembered.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of all they really told me.
I'm just shocked that they sent you home with a fever. I mean, knowing that you'd spiked a fever and then kind of were feeling that way.
Yeah, I think I got lost in the system somewhere on that shift
like
from like post-op to the step down post-op.
Oh, did you get your pain under control eventually?
No.
That's
So we went home and I was in severe pain all night, and my like muscles in my back were so locked up and just exhausted because they had been like I wasn't, to my knowledge, I wasn't having a seizure, but that's just my best way of describing what the muscles were doing.
Like
they were shaking like that.
Yeah.
For so long that they were just so sore. My muscles hurt, my back hurt, my belly hurt. And the next morning I was in such severe pain. I called the doctor. I was like, I need to come back. And we went back. And this is now at the original doctor's office where we had that first ultrasound. We're going back into the same room, doing another ultrasound, and on its own, that whole process was horrible because we're in the waiting room. There's pregnant people. They're all happy and have living babies. And here we are going back into this exact room of where this horrible experience was. And I physically feel like I'm dying. And they pulled the ultrasound up and they're like, oh, we didn't get everything. And there's still some tissue and fluid in there. So then at that point, they admitted us to the hospital to have at that point I had sepsis. And they actually never told me I had sepsis. I read it in my chart later. But they were like, had to get that under control and manage that. And they were putting, bags and bags of antibiotic IV fluid before they did a repeat DNC. And then a couple days afterwards. And that repeat DNC, it was also very traumatic because at this point, it's like we're going back in. We're replaying the same thing. It's a new doctor this time. And it kind of felt like in the moment, like, oh, they're bringing somebody else in to kind of clean up this other person's mess. It's kind of how it felt. I don't know if that's how it was. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And one of the anesthesiologists told me, I wondered if something was wrong. And that was very unsettling that they knew that in that moment. You knew, and you sent me home, and that that was not reassuring. And he was telling me that as they were wheeling me back for round 2.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Wow.
It's just, wow. So then does that amp up the terror of just like, now what's going to happen? Now what?
Yeah. We had discussed that I was able to tell him, look, because he saw me, he was the one caring for me when that event happened. And I was telling him, I knew exactly what was happening. I was fully aware. And I just could not talk and I could not move my body. And he just said, okay, we'll just give you a little more sleepy medication and you should be okay. Which wasn't exactly reassuring, but I also just felt like, what else would I do? Like, I mean, I guess I could have like left and gone to a different hospital, but like, in my head, there just was no other option. It was, well, we just kind of have to do this and hope it goes okay.
Right.
And it did. It went fine. That time I woke up from surgery and it was kind of more what you expect. It's like, oh, I'm waking up from anesthesia, I feel a little tired, but as a whole, I feel okay. Something that I have really grieved is we never got her remains. We never got, any like physical connection or memories with her. Like, and I actually recently learned though that somewhere in the paperwork, I probably did sign something saying what to do with the remains. I just never was told though that you do have an option to have even with an earlier loss like that, you can have the remains cremated or you choose what to do with the remains. I was never given options. I think it was probably just somewhere in the paperwork we were signing, but that was something I really grieved is we didn't get even a choice in what to do with her remains.
During this process, did anybody sort of debrief with you about what this means for future pregnancies? And, you know, obviously part of your story is that you're Rh negative. Did anybody tell you that information?
No. So at the very beginning of my pregnancy, I did the prenatal blood work. And one provider mentioned, oh, you have a negative blood type. So at delivery, you'll need RhoGAM. And so I was like, cool, file that away for a delivery issue. Like, we'll think about that later. And it was never mentioned at any point after that.
Wow, throughout all of that.
Yeah. And I later saw that it was noted in my chart that I needed RhoGAM. But I was never given RhoGAM. It was never discussed with me. It was never, like, I never knew. I didn't even know that you were supposed to do that at that point.
Of course. That's not your job to know that. It's everybody else's job. What's around you.
Wow. With all of that intervention, the DNC, the sepsis, and it's just interesting that no one saw that and thought, has she had RhoGAM?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Dewayne, how did you deal with all of that? And like, this is, I mean, we already talked about kind of like that ultrasound and you processing it, but this is kind of in a way like this very traumatic entry into fatherhood.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was it was weird because like I said, you know, my perspective was more so like, okay, like just make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
And so when I went back for the second DNC, it was like, okay, we'll do this and then it'll kind of be fine. Yeah. And I didn't even, like I knew obviously we knew she had an infection because of the antibiotics, but I don't ever remember like somebody telling me it was sepsis or anything. And looking back, like I had no idea what sepsis even was. Like, like it's not really, it wasn't really until like years later, like telling some of my story to people at different times, and they're like, dang, they were like, people die of sepsis all the time. And I was like, really? Like, I had no idea. Like, I knew she was like physically like pretty jacked up, but like, you know, like I didn't think that like she was like could have died, you know, like I knew like obviously any infection gets out of control, like like
oh my
you know,
gosh.
but like physically I knew she was like not okay, you know, and I think it was just like the classic like we didn't know what we didn't know, and then therefore we just kind of were at the mercy of like these professionals and like just do what they say, like okay, like time to give her more pain medication, all right, time for more antibiotics. And you know, I think the hardest thing for me was I think a couple parts. Like I think definitely like in the hospital, like how much physical pain she was in was pretty brutal to like watch, because it was kind of just this cycle for a couple of days of like she's like scream crying in excruciating pain, and then they give her medication, like pain medication, which then like, you know, just totally knocks her out. And it was just kind of this 4-hour cycle of like, you know, then she's still crying for another 30-40 minutes in pain, and then she's okay for a little bit, for a few hours, or naps for an hour or two, and then wakes up in excruciating pain crying again, but then has to wait to get more pain medication for another 30 minutes to an hour. So it was just that over and over and over again. I was literally coming home on lunch breaks and like kind of putting her like on my shoulder, like, and walking her to the restroom so she could use the restroom, and filling her water and getting her a quick plate of food, and then walking her back, and then, you know, and then running back to work on my lunch breaks. And then after the office, sometimes I would have evening events, so I would do that again. And so, you know, it was kind of that for probably another few weeks ish, you know, because it was about a month, like she couldn't like really walk on her own. Like I remember like it was kind of like a big deal when she could like walk down the stairs and like walk to the bathroom on her own. And I mean the bathroom was maybe 5 steps from the couch, you know. So
oh wow,
how incredible that you were able to be there and be that person for her.
Yeah, he really held us together.
Oh,
I mean, there's many moments where he has been the glue, and that is definitely one of them. That he did the laundry, he cooked, he cleaned, he did, and he worked, and he did everything for us, because I couldn't do anything except just sit on the couch. And that was very, humiliating isn't the right word, but like just defeating. It's just defeating. Like a day ago I was pregnant, and now I'm here. I can't even walk. I can't even go to the bathroom without my husband carrying me. It was horrible. And I was really angry. And I think all that, the physical challenges that I faced, like, added salt to the wound of grief. I think that really compounded on what was already a horrible experience, became very, very, very devastating and very dark very quickly.
Tell us about choosing her name and your decision to try again. Those are two big questions, actually.
Yeah, like how did you even decide to try again after all of that?
Well, so I wanted to immediately.
Wow.
And that didn't diminish my grief or love for her, but I could not stop thinking about getting pregnant. And I knew getting pregnant wasn't going to just automatically make me okay, but it was something that I could just focus on. We wanted a baby, and we wanted a living baby. And so that was something we wanted to do immediately, but we were advised, let your body have at least one natural cycle before continuing to pursue a pregnancy. So, and that was like torture to me. And when I got my period the first time, it was like, I cried so hard. Just because it was another reminder, like, and you're not pregnant.
Yeah.
And so a couple months, it was maybe 2 to 3 months later, we went to the beach on this trip. And this was like the first time I could walk. Like, I could walk again. I was like feeling mostly okay. And that was something I worked really, really hard on, was like, I know I want to be pregnant. And so I need to like do everything I can. I like went down so many rabbit holes of how to heal my body with food and detoxify it. And I went down rabbit holes and I did everything, and it worked. I really started feeling better. And really worked hard to get in like physical shape again. And so a couple months out, I'm starting to feel better, and we go on this trip to the beach. And this is the point where I had a friend that had a similar experience to me, different, but a similar gestation loss. And she had told me that she named their baby. And I hadn't thought of that. At that point, I hadn't even thought of that. That never crossed my mind. Looking back, that's kind of interesting that it never did, but it never did. I just didn't think of that. And so when we're on the vacation, I said to Dwayne, I think I want to name her, and we picked a name, and it really wasn't actually that hard. The name we named her Emerson Lane.
That's sweet.
And there's not any significance other than we liked it and picked it.
Yeah.
And that really was so healing, having a name. Because then it was like, I can talk about Emerson. Not, I can talk about that thing that happened or that pregnancy that we lost. It's like, no, that was a baby. I can talk about Emerson, my child that died. And that really changed a lot of how I could grieve. And that, and I think that was really helpful for me to hear, like, hey, it's never too late to name your baby. Yeah, even though it's been a couple months, it's never too late. And you don't even have to ever tell anybody. I have, but like, you don't have to. That could be something just for you that you do, and that really helped me a lot on my grieving kind of journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I had my first natural cycle, then we immediately started trying to get pregnant again, and I got pregnant again very quickly. I think it was like the next cycle I got pregnant, and I was terrified. I was terrified that, because at this point that veil is shattered. Like there's no safe zone in pregnancy, and I know this, because we got past the safe zone in the first trimester, and and she still died. So I know that there's no guarantees. And so I entered this next pregnancy with a conscious intention of, look, I don't know how much time we're going to get together, but I am grateful for every second that we do get together. Mm-hmm. And I am terrified, but I don't want to waste this time we have together.
Oh,
and
oh wow, yeah, that's really.
And so it was very hard and terrifying still. But I worked really hard to not let that fear take over everything, because I knew this baby still matters. No matter what happens, this baby still matters. And
I remember feeling that after Lucy died, and then with my next pregnancy, it was such a strong sense of that very thing, of like, we don't know how long we get to keep her, and so every little bit counts. And we like actually named her early, talked about her, and so how did that change, I guess, that pregnancy for you when you were thinking about it in that way?
So it was a very intimate experience, I think.
Yeah.
Like, where it was like, this is something just between me and her. Like, no matter what happens, like, sweet. We have this bond and we have this experience together. And it was very private about that. Like, we didn't tell family we were pregnant for a long time. Mm-hmm. We didn't tell friends we were pregnant for a long time until it was like, oh, you're kind of getting bigger, something's happening. And we couldn't really hide that anymore. So, and it was very hard to do outward expressions of a relationship with her. Like, I didn't want to do a baby shower. I didn't want to, have other people, give us things for her. Like, that felt like too much. It felt like just something with her and me. I have this. And Dwayne. It was very easy to share that with him, but outside of our immediate family, that was just very hard to open up to. But it was very special because I just, I felt like she would, once I could start feeling her move, it was like every time I'd get nervous, she'd give me a little nudge. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, we have this thing and we have this relationship, and it's like, she's telling me, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm right here. We're good. Yeah. And passing that, like, 14-week mark, because I was, the day of our D&C was when I was 14 weeks pregnant. So even though Emerson had died, 14 weeks is kind of that mark of that's when I was no longer pregnant. So when I was pregnant then with our next pregnancy and we passed that 14-week mark, I had like a little relief of like, okay, we got past that and nothing's guaranteed and I don't know what's going to happen. But when I could start feeling her move, that really started changing a lot, because I didn't have to just wonder, is she still alive in there? Yeah. Like, is my body just betraying me again and I don't even know it? Am I going to go to my next appointment and she's going to be dead? Like, once she was moving, it was a lot easier to at least know, oh, well, she's moving. She's alive, obviously. Yes. Like, I don't know if everything's okay, but she's at least alive, and that is something. And so that really helped. And it's interesting is we actually did a first trimester scan. Our doctor wanted us to do a high risk scan. He was like, I don't think anything's actually wrong. I don't think you actually have a high risk, but just because we don't know what happened last time, let's just do one just to be sure, for good measure. And we went to Dr. Trevette's office, actually. I didn't know that at the time. Yeah. And we didn't see him. We saw one of his partners. And we had a high-risk scan, and they said, everything is perfect. She looks perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. There's no reason to worry.
And how many weeks? Do you remember how many weeks you were then?
That was at 13 weeks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was at 13, because we did the first trimester scan.
Oh, right. Okay.
I see.
At that point, we made a decision to shift to a home birth. Well, not even shift. We were planning on a home birth.
Yeah.
But we shifted care to different providers.
Yes.
And so something that I guess we could have said it earlier, but all of my friends, in my adult life at least, not necessarily as I was growing up, but all of my friends in my adult life, the vast majority have had home births. And I know that's not common. Most people probably know one, maybe two people who have had home births, if anybody, but everybody I knew did have home births. And I watched it play out over and over again of people having beautiful home births, low risk pregnancies, low intervention. And sometimes people needed to transfer care, but they got the care they needed. And it always was just such a beautiful thing. And so we were planning on a home birth. And we had been with Emerson as well. We just never got to that point. But
you just had so much medical intervention with Emerson.
We did.
So
and that really damaged my trust.
Yeah.
I really despised the medical system. I hated going to anything remotely medical. I hated it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I also wanted to be extra thorough of make sure, this baby is okay. I don't want to not give her what she needs because of my resentment with the hospital.
Right.
So we did do the extra scan. We did do, we did the anatomy scan.
That's good.
And again, they said everything looks perfect. Every measurement it could not be better. It's perfectly within the range that you want it to be in. And each kind of checkpoint was like a relief. Okay, we made it to viability. We made it to the, next step forward.
Yeah.
And do you remember having your first trimester blood work with this pregnancy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had the first trimester blood work and it came back perfect. Everything in every pregnancy thus far is always perfect, which I get really annoyed at because that I think kind of gave me this, not even false sense of security, but you would think, if everything's perfect, then why do things go wrong? But I had my first trimester blood work and everything was perfect. And I did not have antibodies. I didn't know to look at that. That wasn't even on my radar, but I did not have them at that point.
And Dewayne, how were you handling all this? Did you feel, again, that same sense of I don't know if this is actually going to happen?
Yeah, I feel like naturally just and I think some of this is also just the way that I kind of grew up. I'm just not one to get my hopes up about things. I'm kind of if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm going to not get my hopes up at all. And so, Kate was saying, I had to make a conscious effort to let myself, get excited, or not that I didn't want to, but I think there was this part of me that was I think, I think it's more of a subconscious thing, if you never get your hopes up in life, then you never get let down, and so it was I was I don't want to be that, that's kind of that's a pretty depressing state of existence, but I also don't want to naively set myself up just to be hurt, and so so I had to put forth a conscious effort and I was after everything we had been through, I definitely wasn't quick to be let's do all that again with the medical system. And so we were pretty on board, with pretty on board with doing a home birth, and especially just going through everything we did, but then also hearing kind of everything was good and going well, and we were why would we not? It doesn't seem like there's much, I think for me, and I don't know if this will ever go away, but I do remember I think every single ultrasound is probably I would be interested to see my own blood pressure or heart rate, because I think every time we went in, every pregnancy, every time it's just this it's I'm kind of fine until we pull into the parking lot, and then it's just this I feel like I get really silent and really observant when I get in high pressure situations, and so I'll just kind of get kind of really to myself and just all right, kind of, at least what I'm thinking is just kind of all right, hopefully it's okay, and so it was definitely
holding your breath.
Yeah, and then it's a relief for until the next time.
So it sounds like the midwife was periodically doing Dopplers, probably to check on her. How did the rest of the pregnancy progress?
Yeah, so every time, they check how she's growing, and they do Doppler, they do, your fondle measurement, which is the size of your belly. I did some, they have you pee in a cup, you do just kind of monitor the pregnancy. And the thing that was really appealing to me as well was we got to spend an hour with our midwives every appointment, a full hour,
really great,
which was really great. And that was something that was very appealing to having a provider that knows me so well and I can trust. And we talked through all the, what if events and when would we transfer care and what do you look out for? And so, we felt very comfortable as we moved forward through the pregnancy while also being hesitant to get really excited. I didn't want to do a baby shower. That felt like too much to me. And yet at the same time, we really needed a lot of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, I guess we could do that. And, I guess I can try to let myself be excited. Maybe, maybe that would be good for me to like kind of have this thing to be excited about. And so it wasn't anything over the top. It was very low key. And, my best friend helped plan it. And she was amazing at knowing exactly how to like keep it low key and keep it not too much and not too overwhelming. And, it turned out actually being a very, very special memory. And I really loved her baby shower. And it was exactly what I needed. And I was so glad I did it. And it really was. And then after that, of course, now we had all these things. And this is I was maybe 36 weeks pregnant. And I, for the first time, started putting stuff together. Because with Emerson, I bought like a couple onesies and we had a car seat like immediately. Mm-hmm. And then we had to like go put all of the stuff we had gotten and hide it away. And I couldn't look at it. It was like this gut punch. And so I didn't want to do that. And so finally I'm at 36 weeks and I'm like, well, okay, like, baby could come anytime, kind of coming soon. Maybe I should get, maybe I should get some things ready. So, we got some clothes and we washed the clothes and we got the car seat ready. We got Dwayne assembled her little nursery dresser and, we did do the things. And it was really at that point about 36 weeks that I was finally like, maybe she'll live. Maybe we'll get to bring a baby home this time. And it was interesting because it was right around that time, too, that she started moving less. And I started noticing that she was moving less. And I would bring it up to my providers and say, she's not moving as much. And they said, well, does she hit the 10 kicks an hour? And I said, well, not every hour, but at some point throughout the day, there's a window she probably gets that, but it seems kind of weird. And every time for a few weeks, it was that conversation. It was, okay, well, let's listen to her heartbeat. She sounds great. And she's perfect. And the heart rate is in the exact range we wanted in. She's perfect and no need to worry. And I even talked to a lot of my friends and the common response is, it's normal for babies to run out of room as they get bigger. And there was one day where she didn't move the entire morning. And which in hindsight, and anybody listening to this, it's like, yeah, this is a red flag. Like, this is a time you should just go immediately to the hospital. I didn't know this, though. I didn't know that was, because I was telling them exactly how she moved. And it was like, yeah, that's perfect. She's normal. Right. It's fine. It's no big deal. So in my head, I'm like, okay.
Different. Right.
Right. And so there was a morning where she didn't move the entire morning. And I was like, maybe I need to go to a hospital. And I remember sharing to some friends and it was like, several people were like, yeah, it's kind of normal as you get, decrease or their movement changes as you get bigger. And I had one friend that said, you could always go for peace of mind. And in my head, I heard that this is not how she said it, but how I heard that was, oh, I can go to the hospital, pay all this money to like chill out my anxiety.
Right.
And be a little traumatic. Not because something might actually be wrong, but so that I could chill out. That's how I heard peace of mind scan.
Okay.
And I did say, I will go. If she doesn't start moving soon, I'm going to go to the hospital. And it was within a couple minutes of getting off that phone call with that one friend, she moved more than she had ever in the pregnancy, which again is a little bit of a red flag, but I didn't know that. I was like, oh my gosh, she's moving so much. She's totally fine. And it felt like this moment where it's like, oh, you're telling me you're okay.
You're telling me.
And because I had this moment with her of like, look, wait, I want to have a home birth, but also if you need to be in the hospital, we'll go to the hospital. Like, we'll go wherever. Like I'm kind of like looking, let me know. And she was moving so much. And it was, to me, this reassurance of like, cool, she's okay. Like, thank God.
Yeah.
and so that just continued for a couple weeks of every week. Cause at this point you have weekly appointments, and every week I brought that up. Like, she's really not moving a lot. I said this started around 36 weeks. It was really around 34 weeks that she started kind of changing, because it was a full month that this was going on, and that I repeatedly brought this up. And
they never wanted to do an ultrasound? Just to
it
check.
was never mentioned.
Wow.
Yeah. We went in. So at 38 weeks, it was this very distinct day of, I had such a great day. I was in you're in this phase towards the end of pregnancy where it's like, I could be pregnant for another day or 4 more weeks, And so I was kind of in this little limbo, and I went and got a pedicure, and it was like the best pedicure I've ever had in my entire life. And I had my toes painted pink. And I remember thinking, they're pink for a girl, but what if she dies? And then I'm stuck with pink toenails. And that sounds really like dark, but that was just really normal. Like, I'd have thoughts like that all the time.
Oh, yeah. I think we all don't we all, or is it just us? But I'm pretty sure
I do.
Maybe it's just us. I don't know, especially in a pregnancy after loss.
Normalizing, just those types of stuff.
Yeah. I had those all the time, and I would have, I'm happy today. Well, hopefully it's not the last good day before everything burns on fire.
Continue to be happy.
And that was just so normal. Yeah. So I had the thought, what if she's just dead? But I didn't think anything of it. I just moved on. And we had an appointment that evening. And we go. And they, we're talking about how, like, I was GBS positive. That test had come back that I was GBS positive. And so we're talking about that. And the whole time I'm like, why are we talking about this? Like, I am so concerned about her movement. And I started crying of like, I'm just really worried I can't feel her move. And they're like, okay, well, let's just stop what we're talking about. Let's listen to her right now. Like, move that. Because they always would do that at the end of the appointment. I don't know why. They would always do that at the end of the appointment. And so we stopped what we were talking about. We're like, let's listen to her now. And they listen and they listen. And they have the fetal scope. And they cannot find a heartbeat. And immediately it's like flashback to Emerson of like, this is exactly how it felt. And then they said, okay, can we use the Doppler? We'll use the Doppler because we aren't getting it on the fetal scope. So let's use Doppler. And they're listening. And they're like, we can't find a heartbeat. But they don't have an ultrasound at this office.
Okay.
And I was crying because I was like, this just feels so similar to Emerson. Like, this feels so similar. But I didn't know that these were contractions at the time. But I was having contractions where, like, they were very localized. Like, I could feel her feet push up into my ribs. But it wasn't like my whole belly was tight. It was just her feet would go in my ribs, and that one spot would be tight. Yeah. So those were contractions. I didn't know they were contractions. I just thought she's stretching out and kicking up into my ribs. So in my head, she's moving. So we're there, and they're like, we can't find a heartbeat. And it felt really horrible. Like, this is how it felt with Emerson.
Yeah.
But I can feel her kicking up in my ribs. She has to be alive.
Yeah.
And they said, why don't you go to the nearest hospital and go get an ultrasound? And we didn't want to go to the nearest one because that was the same system as our first experience. And I did not trust that hospital. So I was like, nope, we're not going there. We'll go somewhere else. And it was a little bit further of a drive. And it was like a 25-minute drive maybe. And Dwayne was driving, and he was driving very normally, very like, he was very healthy.
So steady.
Yes, very steady. And he was driving. And I remember like sitting there like, I didn't say this, but in my head, I'm like, why are you not going like 100 miles an hour? Like, this is urgent. We need to be there now. And it was the longest drive of my life.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like literal torture. They took us back to an ultrasound room, and I think it was a doctor, just the on-call doctor maybe came in. I don't remember who it was, but somebody came in and did an ultrasound, and he said, actually, I don't remember what he initially said, because I think in his mind, he knew going in that she didn't have a heartbeat. Maybe. Really? I don't know. Well, we didn't know that for sure. That's just how it kind of came off, because he didn't like say, yes, all right. But at some point it was like, oh yeah, no, there's no heartbeat. And I was, he was saying something about like, oh good, she's head down, kind of muttering stuff to the person next to him. And I was sitting there this is, maybe a little naive of me to think, but in my head, I'm like, I am so far along in pregnancy. Like, you can, like, no heartbeat didn't register of like, she's dead and there's nothing to do. In my head, it was like, cool, so take her out. Like, is my body not sustaining life? Like, take her out. And like, are we not like rushing into a C-section right now? Like, so you can revive her and save her? Like, she's a whole human at this point. Like, she's fully developed. Like, can you not save her at this point? And I asked him, I was like, so you're saying no heartbeat, like, are we going to go do something? Or is she like dead? And he said, she's dead. And it was like just this moment of like, oh my God, like, we're here again. Like, this really is happening again. Like, there's been this couple hour buildup of like, we might be reliving our worst nightmare again. Yeah. That it was like this shred of hope of like, but I'm so far along, maybe they can save her.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, it really is happening again right now. Like, she's dead and there's nothing they can do. And I think I had one of those contractions where her feet went up into my ribs right after that. And I said to the nurse or whoever it was in there, like, well, I literally feel her right now. And she's like, yeah, that's a contraction. It's just your body moving hers. And again, it was like, I felt so betrayed by my body and just in shock. And so I asked the doctor, so do we do a C-section? Like, what's the plan? He's like, oh, we'll do induction. And it's like, oh, I still have to give birth.
Oh my God.
Like how do you do that? Knowing your baby's dead. And they were out of the room for some period of time. And I think we had asked them to leave so we could just like break down with just us two.
Yeah.
And we hadn't yet called our family because we didn't know what was going on yet. We didn't want to give news until we knew what was actually happening. We had something to say. And at this point we called our family, which is just never a phone call you want to make.
It's so bad. Did you have to do it kind of over and over again? Or
no.
Did they? Okay.
No. We each called our parents and they dispersed to the rest of the family. And it was such a blur, but I know we kind of came to this conclusion. Like, we were at this hospital kind of far away because our midwife's office was pretty far from our house, and we had gone to one 20 minutes further,
Yeah.
And there was a hospital within the same system pretty close to our house. And so I had asked the doctor, like, is this like really urgent, or like, can we go home and like get something? Like, neither of us had eaten in hours. We were so hungry.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any things prepared. We wanted to be close to we didn't have family that lived locally, but we had a lot of friends and a good support network, and we wanted to be close to people. And so I was like, can you just discharge us and send us to this other hospital? Like, it's in the same system. Like, can we just go give birth there because that's closer to home? Like, we'll be by our people. We can go home and get stuff, and go eat a meal that's not hospital food. And which felt very surreal, like trying to make plans. Like, how do you just decide like what to do in that moment? And so they were on board. They're like, yeah, we'll call and give that hospital a heads up. And I know the doctor that's on call right now over there, and he's great and he'll take care of you. So we went home, and that drive was just very like, what the heck is happening? Like, how are we here again? And how are we just like, that seems like such a normal thing to just drive home, but it was this monumental thing happening. And I think, I kind of mentioned this before, I got very, very, very dark and sad and struggled a lot when Emerson died. And Dwayne said to me, I don't want to watch you go through this again.
Oh man.
And in that moment, I knew something was different. It felt like Josie had been preparing me this whole time. And I felt like she helped me crawl back out of the depths.
Wow.
And that now I knew what to do. Like, I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew I knew there was going to be a way forward, even though I didn't know what it looked like. In that moment on our drive. Wow. And I said to Dwayne, like, it won't be like last time. Like, wow. I don't know what this is going to be, but I know I cannot afford to go as dark as I went last time. There's no going back to that. And this will be different this time. I don't know what it will look like, but I know it'll be different. And yeah, I guess we hadn't really said, I think Dwayne and I both have said her name now at this point, but yeah, so
Dwayne, can I just ask, did you, well, you need to tell your side of all this, but also, like, did you believe her when Kate said that? Did you believe her?
Well, I'll kind of backtrack. So, you know, I remember that was like my first, well, I had a couple of thoughts. I was like, when they said induce, I was like, I have flip-flops on and I'm in a hospital. Like, it's about to be cold, you know? Like, that's kind of was like, I was like, we need to go home. Like, we need to like
so
pack
cold.
some stuff. Like, and then I remember I was like, I remember I used to like smoke when I was younger. So I was like, I feel like I need to smoke a cigarette. Yeah. Like, literally, I was like, and then, yeah, that was my like following thought was just like, I just can't like watch you like go through all this again. And so when she like told me that like it was going to be different, like I think I wanted to believe her, but it was always kind of just in the back of my mind. Like, I think I just had this like kind of like this floating fear of like, all right, like when's it not going to be good, you know? Or kind of like, I guess, like when is she gonna kind of go dark, you know?
Yeah, like you were afraid. Yeah,
exactly.
And you were afraid you were gonna lose her too.
Well, yeah, and so for me, it was like it was kind of always just in the back of my mind, and you know, like I mean, yeah, I just would like kind of think through like the worst, like just the worst possible, because you know, the first pregnancy was like, I was like, if that was that rough, like I feel like this is worse, you know? I mean, I don't know if there's a worse, you know? I mean, in hindsight, it's like, you know, in my mind now it's equal, but at my perspective at that time was like, I think because this pregnancy with Josie was so much more real to me, it's like I actually like felt the impact of it. And so like for me, it's like, if that was that bad for her, like this is going to be like terrible. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so much. It is very internal. I noticed that too after our loss, was just like, you know, I know that he's grieving right next to me and we're both grieving our child, but I am like in my own grief and he's in his, and it felt like we could be supportive, but like it was something I had to deal with and live through, and no one else could do that for me or soften it for me, right? Like it feels very lonely in a way.
So it does. It's like the ultimate powerlessness. If you can't, nothing will make that better or take away that pain. And that is very uncomfortable to sit with and to accept. And, you know, some of that concern like goes both ways, as I felt similar ways with him. I think we just both want each other to be okay. And know like there is nothing that either of us can do to take away the other's pain. Right. Which is like, that in itself is an added pain to the pain.
Yeah. Right. It's terrible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We get to the hospital and thank God they had called the hospital, so they knew, you know, we walk up and said our name and they were like, we know who you are. Come with us. Oh, good. Which was such a relief. Because every time with Emerson and every time like up until this point we had to say over and over to like all these different doctors, like here's what's going on, they can't find a heartbeat, they whatever. And so at this point it was like immediately, we know who you are, we're expecting you, come with us. And I felt very taken care of, which was in a weird way, very redeeming.
Yeah.
Even though this was such a tragic situation and not at all a redemptive story, that was, though, because I had all of this mistrust with the hospital and, like, felt betrayed and, like, they never took care of me. I had never been taken care of. And immediately it was like, oh, we are. And they said, you're going to have your own nurse who you are her only patient. And
Great.
you can have whatever you need from us. And they put us in this wing of the labor and delivery unit where there was one mom in there. And after she had her baby, they moved her. So we were then alone in that part of the hospital.
That's good.
And they were, like, this experience was, with this hospital, was just night and day from our other one. At our other one, they had zero concept of how to deal with grief and bereavement care. Or at least the people we worked with did not. And that was immediately different when we got here, which this is just a common theme of our experience at this hospital that really changed the trajectory of how the only time we ever got with Josie. And our time moving forward was completely changed based on these really amazing nurses that we had.
I'm so glad you were there.
Yeah, me too.
You happened to pick that hospital?
Yeah, it was just one that was by our house that was a different brand of hospital from the one that we did not like. That was kind of it. There was
it's such an important time. Like, that's your time with her.
Yeah.
That is your time.
And I had no concept of that. I didn't know the gravity of that. Yeah. I just was like, I don't know, here we go. We're doing this now. Yeah. I didn't know until way later, like, oh my gosh, that changed everything.
Wow.
Then eventually, the next morning, finally labor kind of picked up, and given the circumstance, like, it still was, this is horrible. It was nothing like I wanted it to look like. And yet there was something that was so empowering about birth still that was like, wow, the body is incredible. And I did it. I did this really hard thing, and I gave birth to her. And seeing her for the first time was like, there's that mantra that I think a lot of moms have of, like, one more contraction, like, you're about to meet your baby. And in my head, it was like, that doesn't apply. So, like, it's almost over. Like, this really awful pain is almost over, is what I was telling myself. Yeah. And then it was, and I gave birth to her, and seeing her, it was like she looked just like Dewayne.
She does.
Like, just like him. And I saw her, I remember looking at her like, it's like a girl Dewayne. like, it wasn't computing in my brain. I was like, I know she's a girl. Yeah. But she looks like Dewayne.
Yes.
Like, this isn't adding up. But it was really, like, surreal seeing, like, this is her. Yeah. Who I've known for 9 months is, like, here.
Yeah. Wow.
And this is what she looks like. And yeah, we both just kind of broke down then at that point. Because it was silent. It was silent. Everybody was silent. We had, like, a handful of people in the room, and it was just silent. And it felt very sacred. And at the same time, I was like, this is just not how it's supposed to be right now. Right. Like, this is not how delivery is supposed to be. And they told us we could have as much time with her as we wanted. And they didn't rush us. And they were really great to us. And, they had given us, like, this packet of, like, it was actually really, really great and very helpful of, like, how do you walk through all these decisions you're about to have to make, and decisions you have to make really fast, and it walked us through all of those.
Oh, that's good.
Which was really helpful.
Yeah. Did you get to hold her right after she was born?
Yeah. It was like, this is something that, like, was initially part of my birth plan, but it was like, I'm leaving. This is something I want to keep. Is like, I want her immediately on my chest.
Yes.
Like, I want her immediately on my chest.
Yeah.
And she was. And I remember I had this vivid moment of when they went to cut the cord. It was like, in my head, I was like, wait to cut the cord because we want to wait for the delayed cord clamping.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that doesn't matter. She doesn't need it. And they let Dwayne cut the cord. Yeah, we just held her and looked at her.
Yeah. Dwayne, what was that like for you?
I think I had like this immediate sense of like excitement, and then like immediately followed by like just the reality, you know, like I was like, so, and I don't know, I feel like the best way I can describe it to people is like, it's just like the best worst moment of your life, you know,
Right.
and because it's just like it was like an immediate up of seeing her, and then just the immediate like, and like she's not alive, you know, and I remember I also like had this like weird thought that like what if she just started crying, you know, like I just would have like random like thoughts like that.
Yeah.
And then I mean it totally like just jacked me up like how much she really looked like me, and I don't know, I think that was just one of the just also then I think just made it in a weird way like real all over again. And I mean it was weird. I mean that next little bit, I mean we were there with her for 36 hours and have thousands of pictures, I feel like.
Yeah. You have so many good pictures.
Yeah, like, and then they also provided like a company or like a nonprofit came in and took professional photography pictures for us too, that they provide, and that was like in hindsight like incredible. Like we just kind of got to do, we kind of were just like, let's just do it all, because like if we don't want it we can just get rid of it, and if we want it then we have it, you know. Which I think in hindsight was like really 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 glad we did that. And I don't know, I mean it was so like it was just like a whole nother like realm for the next like day and a half. Like there was moments where like Kate was holding her, and we had some friends there, like some really close friends of ours there, and like we would just be laughing and cracking jokes with each other, and it was like weirdly normal. And then it would just in a minute or two it would just shift to like, oh, like this is like, it's just, to me it's always just like, it's so weird how like the brain and the body like processes something like that, you know. Like it was almost like I felt like at times like I couldn't handle the heaviness of it, and there needed to be some normalcy, and then at points I would have too much normal, and it was like I just need to sit here and cry alone for a minute, you know.
Her name is Josephine Ann Luvana. We call her Josie Ann. She was 6 pounds, 7.5 ounces, and 19 inches long. And she was just perfect. I mean, she looked just like Dwayne. She had full head of hair. It was kind of curly. We didn't know where that came from. None of us have curly hair. And we had, just really undisturbed time with her for, like 30 plus hours. And every single moment of that was precious. It was so, it felt like we were just, it was us, it was our family, we were whole, we're together, and we knew it was going to come to an end. And it didn't feel, I mean, there were a lot of sad moments, but seeing her and holding her felt like even though she's not here, like she's here still, even though she's gone, she's still here. And we, they made a really beautiful keepsake box for us with her footprints and her handprints, and we cut a lock of her hair, and I had this little yarn bracelet that it's like tradition and among my friend group where we like kind of all wear a piece of red yarn that kind of hold space for the mom that's about to give birth. And then when the baby's born, you cut that yarn off of your wrist. And so I had this yarn on my wrist, and I cut it off and like tied a little piece around her wrist and then tied the rest back on mine. And it was like, this is just to keep us kind of connected as she goes off to this next part of her journey, because we knew that like we were gonna have an autopsy and that she was gonna just we were just gonna be apart and eventually probably see her again at the funeral home. And so it was like I couldn't bear the thought of being apart from her. And so it was like, this is, you know, us, how I can kind of keep us connected for this time. And
was it strange? I remember like going out of the hospital and then seeing like, oh, the world has just continued.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like not being able to process that. Everyone else has just continued on with their life, and they're not in this dimension.
Yeah.
Everything's continued on. How is that possible? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember like going to get food or like going down to the cafeteria at different points, and like people would just be, you know, just patients there for whatever, you know, and I just remember being like, these people have no idea what is like what like I'm going through. And then there was that weird part of me that like kind of was like, I wish that somebody would just ask me, like, what do you like? Oh, like, what are you here for? You know?
Right.
And then, but at the same time, like, you know, not wanting to have to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, it was very, very, just a weird, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I mean, weird is the only word that comes to mind. Like, just a weird state of, like, existence. I feel like is like, which sounds kind of a little bit like, I don't know, like spooky or whatever. But, like, you know, that's what it was like, you know? Like, just this in between, you know?
Right.
When we were in the hospital and I was holding Josie, I was asking for Rogam because I knew, I need Rogam. I'm after delivery.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was told you would need Rogam at delivery. So I was like, I need Rogam. It's delivery. And the on-call OB comes in and says, we can't give you Rogam. You have antibodies already, so it's too late. And that's what probably killed her. And maybe she worded it a little softer than that, but it was like,
that's how it
like that is what happened. And we all were in the room, like, just silent. And like, what? Like, what? And they're like, did you not get Rogam at 28 weeks?
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? No, was that like supposed to happen? I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, what? No, I didn't get Rogam at 28 weeks. And they're like, well, you should have. And that's what probably happened here. And that's going to happen in all of your pregnancies now. And and they didn't say we couldn't have more children, but they said in your future pregnancies, you're going to have to be really closely monitored. And this is going to be the outcome every time, which is like, and they're going to die every time. So like, because there was not clarity on like, can I have more children or not? It was just, this is going to happen every time. And you'll just have to be super closely monitored. And so in my head, it was like, so you're going to super closely monitor my baby as they die over and over. Great. Okay. So
who delivered that news to you? Who was that?
The on-call OB.
Bethany wants to know that person's name. No,
I need to know. Who do I have to reach out right after this? We're going to have some words.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it is, and also,
and so that was like another blow.
Yeah.
That just made it even more devastating. Of like all in one moment, knowing like, this probably could have been prevented. Wow. As I'm holding my dead daughter, you're telling me she didn't have to die. Like that. It just was very like everybody in the room was just kind of in shock, and so as we went home, I was, researching more. I didn't have antibodies actually as the word. I was told I was sensitized. So I didn't know what it meant. I didn't really know what to research. I was just researching sensitized. And it was like a month later that I was looking on another Google search. Like I had done several. And I was trying to figure out, like, can I even have kids? What does this even mean? And that's when I came across the foundation. After like a month of Google search, finally, I found the foundation. And it was like, everything I needed to know was like in one place. And it was like, it felt like the stars aligning almost, of like, I have a question, here is an answer. I want to know about this, here's everything I could possibly want to know about that. And I read every page on the website. I listened to every single podcast, and I was like mentally preparing. It was like whiplash. It was like, here's this really horrible thing, and then, oh, but here's a lot of hope, and there's an answer, and oh, but here's this really devastating piece, and it's really scary. Maybe you have to do all these treatments. Oh, but the treatments work, and it's really hopeful, and oh, but you might need surgery, and that's really scary. Oh, but there's it's just felt like whiplash. And I was mentally prepared to, like, I will go wherever. I'm going to move to Texas and go to Dr. Moise, and I'll go see him and do whatever it takes to have a living baby. Like, and I looked on your website to see who your recommended doctors were, and I saw Dr. Trevette is in Atlanta. I looked up his office. It was 10 minutes from my house. And he was right there the whole time. And it was like, it felt like the stars were aligning, and they were aligning too late.
Yeah.
And he was right there. And if only I had this information a month prior, maybe she would have lived. And I was really, like, it was that kind of whiplash of, like, I was so grateful. He is right here. And we don't have to move out of state for our next pregnancy. He's right here. But then also, he was right here the whole time. And he could have saved her. And so but we didn't know.
Gosh. And you didn't have any, I feel like you didn't get any information until at the end when she's in your arms, and it's just this dumping of information suddenly. And then you find out he's right there. He's right there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs that I think that kind of brings up. Like, what if we did know? What if I did go to the hospital that day? I thought about it. What if, you know, there's a lot of what ifs. And I think that something that really actually helps me with those what ifs is something I think you said, Bethany, somewhere along the way, is like, but this is my baby's story. Like, yeah, I wanted it to be different, but this is her story, and this is Josie's story. And, you know, I have a hard time with the saying, oh, everything happens for a reason, because that feels like, oh, she was meant to die. And I have a hard time with that. But I can get behind, you know, nothing in God's world is wasted. And that her life did mean something, and I can make, you know, memories that look different than I thought they would look, but I can still make memories, and still have a relationship with my daughter and still mother my daughter. It just looks different. And that doesn't diminish the grief that comes with the fact that it looks different, but I don't know. I think there's just a really big journey of trying to figure out how to, like, let joy and grief, or gratitude and grief, kind of coexist and kind of walk together. But yeah. So we found all this information and the foundation, and that's when I called you. It was actually kind of a funny story. I was listening to one of the episodes, I forget which one, but it's in the first season, and they say, or you talked about donating plasma, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something that I can use this for good, and maybe I can help people. And so I called whoever it was that you said to call on that podcast episode. It was like linked in the show notes, and I called her, and she said, oh, no, you shouldn't be doing this right now. Like, you are still going to have babies. Like, call Bethany. And she gave me your cell phone number. And to me, you felt like a celebrity because I was hearing you on all the podcasts. And I was like, she just gave me your cell phone number. Like, are you sure you want me to have this? And so that's when we talked, and, you know, we got to kind of talk through everything. You gave me so much hope that you kind of helped piece together some of the answers for me of, like, what might have happened and what things might look like moving forward. And you had been through this. And I think that was so helpful to me to have somebody I could talk to, where it was, you had lost a daughter, and you had living children after that, and you had the same condition I did, and you had to go through the same severe disease treatment that I might have to do. I didn't know, but it was just like, you had done all these things that was like the same path I was looking down. And that was so helpful and gave me hope. Like, that was truly like the only thing that did give me hope during this time, because you're so powerless and there's nothing you can do. But then having all of this information from you and from the foundation was like, I have a path forward and there are things I can do. I'm so powerless in so many areas, but this is something I can do.
Next episode on the Allo podcast.
I know that this has worked for other people, but I really have no idea if this is going to work for me. I really don't.
We definitely felt like that.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't even know if this is possible.
Right.
You know, and this is like easy for me to say, but like I liked Kate's perspective of like I can suffer now for Noah, you know, like I can kind of take all that pain and suffering away by going through what I'm going through.
Were they able to help with the symptoms?
Well, so Dwayne carried me to the car, put me in the car, drove us to the hospital, carried me into the hospital, and I don't remember a lot because I couldn't open my eyes. And that was the only point that I got really scared and really sad, because I was like, I know what he needs. I know what needs to happen right now. And the only thing that's standing between life and death for my baby is whether or not I can convince this person who has no idea what's happening to listen to me.
Right.
It really minimized, I think, a lot of the, emotional trauma that could have kind of come with that process, everything we went through. I think it would have been a lot worse if we didn't have you guys with us walking through every step of the way, and having you and other moms in our corner who have been in similar shoes. And so it really is an honor to be able to then be that for somebody else.
The Allo podcast is offered by the Allo Hope Foundation, a nonprofit organization. This means that our ability to continue this work depends on corporate sponsorships, small research grants, and donations. While sponsorships and grants are vital, they're often restricted to specific activities, and they do not cover the everyday work that keeps our mission moving. Things like creating educational materials, writing grant applications, running our social media, and especially managing our rapidly growing patient support group where we counsel women every day. They also do not cover the direct support we provide to families who cannot access life-saving care, whether that's the cost of an antibody screen in Kenya or bus fare for a mom in the US who needs to travel for an intrauterine transfusion. If you've ever wondered whether a donation of any size makes an impact, it truly does. Please visit our show notes for information on how to donate to AHF or to become a recurring donor. Your support gives our small organization the stability we need to continue this work and ensure no family faces HDFN alone.
Okay. Oh gosh. I feel like I need the music. Okay, I'm imagining it. Welcome to the Allo podcast. No.
I was going to give it to you.
Oh my gosh, Molly, why? Wow.